started my career off, interestingly, teaching. When you come from a small village, like where I was born, there's literally nothing. There's not even a post office. So I found myself volunteering at a school, one of the local farm schools. I taught English, geography, biology, Zulu, and anything in between, filling in for absent teachers. And this is where the HR director of Masonite Africa found me. So they sponsored the school. So they came to have a look at the library that they had built, and they found that it was actually being used because I found an empty space and I started using it with the kids. And that's how I got my internship at Masonite, and that was the start of my HR career. And I worked for Masonite in forestry as well as manufacturing. Moved to Durban to work for Sara Lee Household and Body Care. They no longer have a presence in South Africa. They've sold their brands to some of the other FMCG companies, and decided that I wanted something a little bit different, and I went into consulting. So I worked with a company called A Cubed. It's based in Kloof in Durban. And that was very exciting. This is where I went. I traveled outside of South Africa for the first time. I was pretty young, so I wanted to experiment and see what else was there other than what I knew. And yeah, so I did some interesting projects, going to Namibia, for instance, to do a complete restructuring of the Social Security Commission. So I worked for government institutions as well as for private sector. I decided I needed to be, more grounded and not traveling every single week. And that's how Heineken found me. So I was headhunted by Heineken when they were building the very first brewery in South Africa. So I was there from the start, building up the teams from the ground up, and ultimately became the HR executive in 2011. I stayed at Heineken for a full 8 years. And I had a wonderful career there. Moved overseas for a short stint in Amsterdam, where I was working, looking after talent and leadership development for Africa, Middle East, and Eastern Europe, which was a little bit of an odd setup. So Eastern Europe was Russia and Belarus. I don't know how those two countries ended up in that setup, but predominantly I was working for Africa, Middle East, and just looking at the challenges. Had my first baby, my son. He's now 2 years, 2 months. And decided, actually, I want to be home with my people. So my partner and I made our way back. And before we came back, actually, whilst I was on maternity leave, Mondelēz said, would you be coming back anytime soon? And I said, yes. And that's how I ended up at Mondelēz, where I've been now for the last 2 years, looking after South, Central, and East Africa, full HR scope. So that's basically my career in a nutshell. For me, personally, it is something that when you walk through the doors of an organization, how you feel, it's something that you cannot touch. I honestly don't believe in all of these things that are pasted on walls that tell people how this company is. It must be something that you feel, that you connect with from an emotional level. So for me, it's not necessarily how nice the office looks, it's how I feel being in this environment. Do I feel valued? Do I feel like I make a contribution? Do I understand what I'm here to do? Can I see it? Can I tell you how my contribution actually contributes to the rest of the company's performance? If I can explain that to you, and if I can feel it, and if I can see it, then for me that would kind of describe a culture of a company. How leaders behave in an organization is also part of what I would identify when I talk about culture. So how do people interact with each other? How do leaders behave, and how do they engage with the people in an organization? So first of all, we have a very flat structure. We don't have a hierarchy. Yes, everybody has to have a nice position, but if you walked into Mondelēz, you wouldn't know who is a director and who is, a junior clerk. We have quite a flexible, actually working environment that is not necessarily rigid in terms of policy. So I've seen other companies that say, well, we have, core business hours, which is 9 to 3. You have to be in the office at that time. For us, we use technology a lot. I think from an atmosphere perspective, we also create multiple platforms for communication and for engagement. Every single month, there's either a business results town hall or a fun town hall, which we call an open house, where people can be as crazy as they want. They come in, they tell everybody who they are, what they do, what makes their work exciting, and we do it by teams.